Yeah, I'ma kill you in a second if I have to. Use my mind as a weapon when I blast through. Put the basics in the basement.
All right, fellas, welcome to the PT Performance Podcast. We're at episode number 16. Tonight I got Richo.
Hey, guys.
How's things, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Very well. Can't
Awesome.
complain.
Our other co-host, Nate, is running a little behind schedule and will be joining us soon, so you'll hear a chime and he'll jump in as soon as he arrives. And in the meantime, let us introduce our guest for tonight. We've got Darren Bruce. Darren, how's your night, mate?
Yeah, great. Doing really well. Just been wiping up my dog's urine, surprisingly, in the bathroom. So it's great. Yeah, it's been good. So I had to rush on and get on here on time.
That's the one, mate. It beats wiping it up off the carpet or your mattress or something.
Yes.
So, hey guys, so
exactly.
Quick intro for Darren. Darren is a PT at my club, my fitness club in Broadbeach. He brings with him a wealth of experience as a business owner, as a personal trainer, as a mentor and a coach himself. Darren, I don't want to butcher your story, so mate, I'm going to hand over to you. And if you could just tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into the industry and where it's taken you today.
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much for allowing me to come onto the podcast, guys. I really appreciate it. And I already feel like I know you, Richo. Obviously, I know Chris has mentioned it, but I've listened to the previous episodes up until about episode 6 or 7. And yeah, it's been great. If anyone's listening, go back and have a listen. You'll learn a hell of a lot of information. So I appreciate everything I've learned from you guys already.
Awesome.
My story, a quick background to give you a bit of an idea. Before I could walk, I was hitting a golf ball across the living room with a tablespoon, and then just played multiple sports growing up from there. I was a really active kid. I was climbing the carport roof when I was 2 years old, freaking my mum out. She had to put a fake spider on the front gate so I wouldn't climb over and run around the street naked. Just played a lot of sports, really active from about the age of 5 or 6. It was soccer, it was AFL, rugby league for 15 years and union. And for a long period of my adolescence time I had a dream to play in the NRL, the top with elite athletes, just to play with the best in rugby league. Round about the time I was 17, just finished college. I don't even remember how I'd learned about personal training, and I was going to a local gym because it was all about becoming I wanted to get bigger because I knew it was going to make me a better athlete. So that was how I started doing my big goal, 100 kilo bench press, nothing else as a 17-year-old. Might be able to relate, some of you guys out there. Then I did my personal training course when I was 17 because I just thought it could really suit me. I honestly don't remember how I actually got influenced to go and actually do the course, or who influenced me. Ended up doing the course, and for about two or so years, I worked in a gym in Canberra called Bodyworks. There were a few, so I'd work in different locations there, and aside from my experience now on the gym floor in a corporate gym style, that was the only experience I'd had. And I was back in that time, you didn't even need your certificate for. So I was doing gym floor training. I only had maybe 1-2 clients. Aside from that, I was just writing people programs and doing your basic fitness screening. So I wouldn't call it a huge amount of experience, although I was learning a lot. And I actually I didn't complete my certificate for, and the time came around to actually have to have it for credentials, and I just didn't get it done in time. There was some. I think I was just a bit of a lost kid, not knowing what I was doing, and just I didn't have any drive really, like to do it. I can't really tell you why, but I just didn't get it done. I think I sort of lacked a lot of self-belief, actually. And I do remember distinctly having one girl kind of run out of me. She was like my only client, and I mean, I was trying to do reverse psychology on her when she was doing boxing. She was very down on herself and wanted to lose weight. And I said, just pretend the pad's me, pretend it's my face. And that didn't help. She didn't want to punch me. And then I said, well, if you want to leave, just leave. She started complaining. And so she left and then avoided me whenever she entered the gym. So I think that really smashed my confidence for, you know, my ability to train someone, just thinking that I knew enough as a personal trainer because I'd done the certificates, and just realizing that I just knew nothing in regards to getting people results in specific area, whatever results I wanted. So yeah, anyway, I stopped it. I did across that period since I didn't start anything again until I was about 25. So for about 5 years, did my strength and conditioning certificate 1 with the AIS. My rugby coach at the time was the strength and conditioning coach there. And then I was playing in semi-professional teams, rugby league and rugby union. So I kept meeting strength and conditioning coaches and picking their brains. And so I still always had that interest there. And then I just happened to meet a mentor, just a guy who I literally just wanted to do his job and be him. He was a physical training instructor in the military, in the Air Force. He told me about the gig. My friend knew him as well. And I went out to the base, the Air Force base, and he let me train with him. And I saw how his job works and everything he does. And I just, you know, at the time I had a couple of injuries. I was playing Queensland Cup in Queensland. If anyone who knows what that is, it's the level below NRL, so very close to Elite Rugby League. And, you know, I pretty much kind of gave up that dream to focus on something secure and something I knew I really enjoy. I knew that job would force me to improve as a leader, as a physical trainer. A lot of attractive things about it. So went into that role, was, aside from him, was the fastest to be promoted into the job because it's a junior leadership position. You've got to be in control of, you might have 100 to 300 people out in front of you as a group. So as far as group fitness training went, it allows you to master at a higher level than most PTs would get exposed to unless they had built a really big boot camp business. And so, and then there's another thing, there's other things like, you know, instructional technique. You actually go on a course of how to instruct and how to actually teach skills, which is just, yeah, it's really handy tools to have, which are kind of underestimated. So I went through that process and was in that role for about 2 years out of the 4 that I was enlisted. And then, you know, I actually did Cert 3 and 4 in there again. So I had done the Cert 4, and that goes for 6 months in a Navy base where you have to run every single day. And it's very, very in-depth, as they'd like to be the example. So that's why I was so in-depth. So that was great. So I've done the course twice.
Just speaking of examples, Nate's doing this.
Yeah, sorry, guys. You know, just saving cats from trees and helping old ladies cross the street.
You're a good man, Nate.
Your forehead got stuck in the door. Your forehead got stuck in the door.
Sorry. Look. Someone's got to I just finished. Just for those people listening at a later date, it's 9 p.m. I've just finished a client. So for all you fucking heroes that think you work hard,
No, you haven't.
Huh?
How many gaps in between did you have?
Oh,
don't act like you were there from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. straight.
I go to the pub.
5-hour
Is
lunch
that a
break.
chicken wing? Is that a chicken
2-hour
wing?
good morning break.
Mate, I've been to KFC. I've been to the casino. I won on the trots. Like, I've had a pretty good day. How's about we give me a break? All right?
Nice. All right, so we've had our 2 minutes of trash talk. Daz has just given us a rundown of how he got into the industry, and we're up to the Navy.
I'm fully caught up. I'm fully into it.
Attaboy.
I just like the fact that everyone on this podcast can grow a beard but me. That's great.
Yeah, some of mine.
I'm sure you can, Nate. I'm sure you can.
No, mate. Richard, nice Richard. Look like a catfish.
Daz.
What was
Okay,
Daz's question? What's the next question for Daz? Who had something genius to add?
No, he's still going. So you're up to, you've just done your Cert 4, which is 6 months in depth through the Navy because they want to be the leaders.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So just about to get to the business part. So yeah, I kind of got into that role, physical training instructor, and it's the kind of role where I think a lot of people go into the military, and the people who want that role is because it's kind of like a dream gig. You know, if you imagine that your day consists of, you know, you've got your own desk, you can wander anywhere you want on this space. You can go train at the gym anytime you want. You'll take 1 or 2 group classes per day. The rest of the day is yours. You know, you run around eating, meeting people, whatever. And then you get sent away for a week or 2 to maybe go abseiling, adventure training, or run a self-defense course where you get expenses paid, and you know it pays about 70 or 80 grand a year. And you just I got into that role, and there's a lot of close. Yeah, but I think a lot of people get into that role and they're really happy to coast and do that. And once I'd discovered that, I actually wasn't happy about that. Didn't feel challenged. So, you know, I'd started to develop an idea for a business of what I actually wanted to do in order to challenge myself, and also in order to make a bigger impact. I feel like the people in the military, the people who need the help the least with their health and fitness. So started doing that, and you know, I was meeting people, just asking anybody who had business, or I had a friend who was a friend of a friend who was a business coach, set up lunch with him. He started giving me books to read. Spent about a year planning that, just back in my room on the base by myself. Spent a lot of time by myself doing that, learning things about how to start it best. And yeah, long story short, then I set my date of when I was going to finish in the military, when I was allowed to leave, and I just forced myself to have everything ready at that point in time, and everything sort of sped up to that point. I met some key mentors in that period of time. I spent 3 days living with a guy called Travis Jones, who runs result-based training across Australia. Yep, yes, I think a lot of people do. So yeah, he's got about 20 gyms. He had about 4 at the time, and so he started teaching me about business, and that's while I was still in the military. I had 4 months to go before I was allowed out, and started teaching me about Facebook advertising and the potential there, and understanding that, learning more about that. And then, yeah, I had a guy at work. I was freaking out a bit because I was about to give up. You know, my parents were telling, Dad is freaking out. A lot of people thought I was going to fail because, you know, in the military, I could have stayed in that job for another 50 years, been paid over 100 grand to just chill out and what everyone else is doing. But I just wanted to risk and didn't want to live that way. So, yeah, about a month out, must have been about a month or 2 before I got out. Family got into a financial challenge, which was like quite stressful, and I kind of felt like I wanted to do something about it. And a guy at work completely unexpectedly committed suicide as well. He was one of the nicest dudes in the workplace. So it's kind of, there's a couple of things that just made me decide, oh, fuck it, I'm definitely going to do this. And, you know, I don't want to look back thinking, what if? So, yeah, I went for it, and I got all the gear. I ended up, you know, within 4 weeks before I was leaving, I found a location to start it in, which was out of a girl I used to work in the gym with. She had a Latin dance studio. She taught salsa. So for the first 9 weeks of my business, I was teaching on the other side of a curtain where Latin dance music was playing. I had to pull all the equipment out of a back room, and the black mats and everything. Every single time we'd have a session. So all the clients were doing that, everything. With my mentors, I was fortunate to start that business with. We had 22 clients, average 100K gross a year with those clients. So it was really exciting time, and stressful, and with a lack of sleep. And I spent 9 to 10 weeks doing that, and then planning to find a commercial space. I didn't have the money at the time to do that, and I was just really, you know, taking calculated risks. And this is really interesting telling you guys this story, because Nate, I said before that I listened to the episodes so far, and appreciate, you know, I learned a lot from you guys. It's been awesome. And I'm kind of like, what's that?
I said he means me. You're welcome, lads.
I do, everyone. But
Yeah,
I feel like I'm.
He talked about lacking confidence earlier, so I guess that's probably
Story of my life.
short there.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm a bit of the exception to the rule because I didn't get all that gym floor experience, but I was fortunate to have, you know, some different kinds of skills from a physical side of things, and then was just reaching out to any kind of mentor or guidance I needed. I was just really like asking so many questions. So anyway, got that commercial space, moved over, and I kind of dried up all my avenues of figuring out how to get more clients in once we moved over there. A couple dropped off for the first 10-week challenge with great results. And I was thinking, what the hell do I do? Started following some guys on Facebook who looked like they knew what they were doing. Spoke to one of them, got on the phone, ended up signing up to business mentorship. And they helped me do my first Facebook ad. And overnight, I had 84 Facebook leads to call in 24 hours with spending $74.
So that was just great. What year is this?
Yeah, so this is 2004. Was it 2000 and either 12 or 14?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's 2014. Yep.
Yeah.
So 4 years ago. So definitely like lower ad spend and everything from there. And there's just that kind of ad wouldn't work anymore either.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was 84 leads, 24 hours, started getting on the phone. And yeah, long story short, you know, that ad was turned on and off for 6 months and generated about 300 leads for I think about $1,000. And I actually did this was huge sales training for me. I made so many mistakes in those calls, and didn't sign up a lot of them. And I just kept calling back that list across the next 6 to 12 months and hating those calls more and more. And yeah, then I kind of, you know, I was in that business mentorship, and then I was getting to the point where I was able to create my own ads on Facebook using the same concepts with different
When
images.
you were doing those calls at the start, did any of your mentors have a script that you were going off, or were you just winging it? Were you just winging?
No, they had a script. Yep.
Is that what do you feel like was letting you down in those phone calls? Were you too off the script, so you feel like you didn't sound genuine, or what do you feel like was letting you down about the calls in the early days?
Well, what I teach now, that, you know, the mental performance stuff that I teach that applies to athletes or business owners who I predominantly focus on working with, is that my association with the experience of sales previously was having an impact on my current experience of how what sales internally represented to me, because of the people that I'd previously met when I had done other sales roles. I'd worked in a gym. I forgot to tell you this. I worked in a gym as a membership consultant for 2 years in Brisbane, and literally the sales manager of that gym was a used car salesman turned sales manager of the gym. He literally used to be a used car salesman. So, and he was he was cheating on his wife. You know, he had a very low moral standards, very low integrity. And so that was the example, you know, and so we associate that with future experiences until we were able to change that. So all I was thinking about was, you know, not wanting to upset anybody, probably nice guy style as well. I had to learn how to be more upfront, tell the truth as well, tell people what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. That was one part of it. And I think a big part of that is focusing on this could actually change a person's life, instead of focusing on what do I need to say in order to get the sale. And you know, there's a fucking massive process involved in that, particularly if, you know, somebody is going through financial challenge and I feel like they have an abundance of money because, you know, they're just acting predominantly from their reptilian brain. Like they're just, it's survival mode. So that's a very big challenge to get through if you don't currently feel like you've got enough money, you know.
And this is something we've covered a few times, fellas, where if you're going out chasing the dollar, it's significantly harder than if you're going out chasing the service or the result. But it is where a lot of people start from, you know, because they haven't strategized, they haven't planned it properly. So that's good that you're saying that, Daz, because anyone listening that struggle with those sales related calls, most of them would have experienced that as well at some stage.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I think that the lessons happened for me and so many failures because I was literally jumping off the cliffs and growing wings on the way down in relation to growing, like starting the business. And, you know, I had scaling and planned from the beginning, which was a huge ask to do that in 2 years, and we'll get to that. So yeah, I think I look back now and I think the fluctuation happened as a result. As I was so inspired when I started the business, like I was getting up 4:30 in the morning, no problems at all. But then there was these fluctuations because the focus was like, well, you still got to survive here. So I'd say very important for anyone to have a mentor that wants to be in business for that reason. You know, someone who's gotten the result you want to get to, just to be able to talk to on a daily basis is so very important to survive and thrive in the situation.
I want to get you to talk something real quick for those that are listening. This is a practical moment, so get your notepad and pen out. Even though the way to market on Facebook has changed slightly, I think the way that you did it and the questions you asked in the follow-up to the people that didn't win, for want of a better term, you'll explain this. I think get your notepads and pens out. And if this isn't the exact same way to do it now, it wouldn't be really too much difficult, but the process, I believe, is still quite strong. So could you just go back, Daz? Remember when you explained to me the comp you ran on Facebook? The lead gen you did, and then those that didn't win, you had a pretty cool follow-up strategy for that. Could you go over that for us?
Yeah. Pretty funny story. Invested in a $20,000 a year business mentoring program and didn't have the money to pay for it. And so went back home from Sydney and launched this Facebook ad, which was 6 people win a 4 weeks training, so 4-week challenge for free. And so I think we had about 70 opt-ins. And so I got my coach and myself to call every single person using what my mentor had, which is called a triage call. It's really great phone call, which allows you in 5 minutes. You literally spend 5 minutes on the phone with someone and act as though, you know, you're assessing them of whether they're going to be committed and take action. So we called every person, did that really quickly, and we sort of went off feel and we went, you know, who really needs this? Who's being authentic? We'll give it to them. So made sure we kept integrity, called the 6 people up, gave it to them for free. Then we called all the others who we felt weren't time wasters and said, look, we gave it to someone else who we thought was more deserving. Someone was joking the other day when we said this, Chris, and said basically they were fatter or something, which was very nice. But, you know, they seemed as though they needed the guidance more. So we called these people back and said, look, you didn't win, unfortunately, but we're willing to give you the 4 weeks training 75% off. So I just stuck to one price, focused on high end, which is a $99 a week that our members paid, which got them 4 sessions a week, nutrition guidance, online community, all that stuff. So we said $100 for the 4 weeks and come and train. So 11 people came into the gym, started on that week. 4 weeks later, signed up 9 out of the 11. So there's an extra just under $1,000 per week, average $50K a year into the business. So that was a big landslide change and kept me doing really well. It was a great strategy that worked, which I can't take credit for. It wasn't my idea. It was a strategy that had been implemented by a mentor that had taught me. And then I took it and used a different photo and changed copy a bit. Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty much what we'd say as well, man. You don't have to be the inventor of it. You just got to execute it well. And that's where having a mentor and a coach pays off massively. So cool. All right. Thanks for that.
Yep.
I hope you guys took notice of that. So moving on, business is starting to pick up a little bit now, Daz. You're making 50,000 plus a year.
Also, yeah, at that point in time, well, so yeah, first year did in between 100 and 150K a year. It's really interesting to talk about this because, you know, it can't really determine, it can't really prove the determining factors of why this was happening. But when I came back, I just proposed to my wife in Hawaii. We went on holiday, so my coach was taking all the sessions. We came back, the gym was full, literally couldn't fit anyone else in. We're averaging bit over 20K a month, over 50 members, 5K a week.
So so at this point in time, there's you and one other guy.
Well, she was a girl. Yeah.
There's one other partner.
Yeah, she's an employee, so she wasn't partner to the business.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on, just take a step back. And so when did you get an employee?
Yeah, so it was in between 6 and 12 months of starting the business.
So you felt, so what point were you at where you went, you know what, now I'm going to get an employee? Were you, what made you decide that, you know what, I'm going to try to put someone underneath me?
Well, because I'd kind of done all the legwork of how I was going to get to the point of scale, I had an idea of the processes that need to be in place. And I also had been, I kind of spoken to her from the beginning because I really saw potential in her. She was like very, very eager and keen to, you know, that kind of person, you know, you probably met the PT that's always asking questions. You just know they're going to do great. Mm. She was very, very eager like that. She was doing childcare at the time and had just done a PT course. Didn't know, you know, too much, didn't have too much experience. So I was asking her, I said, how much money are you making in that job? And so I knew, okay, if she's making 500 a week and I can pay her 500 a week, you know, net or gross, can't remember, that I know that she'll get that 500 a week and she'll only have to do 8 hours per week to get that as well. Because we totaled just over 20 hours per week in the gym because it was a max of 10 people per session strength and conditioning. Okay. So just talk a little bit more. So it was small group sessions, was it? Everything. Yeah.
So everything. So small group sessions. So for 99 a week, they got like small, like one on up to 10 group sessions. One on up to 10.
And because of my experience in the military as an instructor, like I was able to just keep an eye on people a lot more vigilantly than others would. And also, you know, my experience with also, you know, the main lifts, you know, a strength day, for example, would partner people up, would have usually 4 stations in partners, deadlift, move to a push, maybe a bench press, then a pull, chin up. And so I was kind of, my aim is always, especially if there's pairs, I'm teaching them how to coach better anyway, and therefore they learn more by teaching as well. Yeah. Through a spot, things like that. So I was able to do that and teach her, but very easy for most.
Yep. So you had roughly 20 hours a week worth of work, and then because obviously you said from the start that your intention was that you were always going to go for the scalable. Why can't I think of the word? The scalable business model. That's the word I was looking for. Yep. The scalable model. So once did you have on it a certain time frame or a certain when you found the right person, or once you got to a certain amount of hours, how did you decide when you did to approach her and get her on?
It was when the business was making a certain amount of money. We had a certain amount of clients. Yeah. That was it. And like I said, the amount of money that she was making, I knew, okay, if I can match that with how many hours I can give her now, that's then something we can build on together because I'll have more time to work on the business once she takes over. Yeah. You know, times that allow me to only be there for maybe half the day or to leave early in the evening.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, wicked. I just want to get that bit of background first. So fast forward to now, you're in Hawaii proposing to your what was then
Fiance.
fiance.
Yeah. Yep.
How many at that stage in time? How many hours a week were you doing in the business, and how many hours a week was she doing in the business? Like up until like a week before you went away.
Great question. A week before I went away. So just to I'll quickly give you an idea of when the times happen. So I was all Monday to Thursday training. So no training Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 10 a.m., 5:30, 6:30 p.m. were the time slots. And then maybe we added one more. But so I had her doing the 10 a.m., which was more a mums and bubs class, strength conditioning for them. So I could do the morning and then not be back until the afternoon. And then I gave her another class in the evening. So she was doing 10 a.m. and then she was doing, it was either at 7:30 or 6:30 p.m., like the last class in the evening. So I could leave early. So she was doing 2 hours per day, 8 hours for the week. And she was getting paid $50 or maybe more per session that she ran. And then it went up from there. I gave her all afternoon and evenings. This was after, this is moving forward, where she was getting, about 900 to 100, anywhere from 800 to $1,000 a week.
Yep. Perfect. Yep. So now you're overseas proposing to your fiance?
Yeah. So she was taking the sessions, and that was also a part of, because I've been told the kind of acid test to become a business owner, which is something I talk about a lot now, like the different identities of self-employed and business owner. You're not a business owner until you can leave for maybe a couple of weeks or a few weeks and come back, and there's not only no less clients, but there's more clients, so the system's in place. So that was kind of really good for me to force myself away, which is part of why I was doing it, and I did it a couple times. So she took all the sessions. I proposed to Jess, and I'd come back, and I really wasn't thinking about scaling at this time, but when it was going to happen. Came back, and obviously, the gym was full. This is at its peak state when it's there. So can't exactly pinpoint, exactly why that was happening. And then back to your question, Richo, about how do I know when to scale from there, or what was my time frame? It only really sped up when Jess, my fiance at the time, once we got engaged, we actually sat down and said, "Oh, what's your plan for the future?" And we both had some, I had a fucking vision board, all right? Just go easy on me. But it was helpful for me. I think it's helpful for, depending on your personality. I needed that visual of where we were headed, and both brought it together, and we said, "Oh, we want to live by the beach," both of us. And it was just like to be by the coast, because my wife's Canadian. So we both grew up in the freezing cold in Canberra and Canada. So we wanted to be away from there. So when she said that, I said, right, okay, so let's lock the date in. And it was 2-year anniversary to when I started the business, when I left the military, July 2nd, 2016. So then I told my employee, my coach, I said, I want to do this. Because the first day we sat down together, she said, I want to have a gym by the beach. And I said, okay, that's my plan, to go up to the beach and then get you one to be there. Yeah. And I was focused on impact, more gyms we have, more people we can help as well, thinking big vision. And so that was the plan. I kept saying to her, cool, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go the second one. And then we're going to, you're going to be able to bring someone on, and then et cetera, et cetera. So that was a 6-month period when that decision had been made. So then it just, once again, every time I've done something like this, it's kind of like setting a date. All of a sudden, you're 4 weeks out and everything is on time for that point, that date you've set. So, and that was how it ran. Getting her to sign an employee contract, was testing out what it was like to only, I then changed to only doing the 2 morning classes. So she was doing everything, more sessions than me. I was doing 8 hours a week. Yeah. And so that was, the tests were happening. And then, July 2nd, we left. And do you want me to keep going?
So did you leave to open a second location?
Yes. Yeah. So we moved to rent up here. in northern New South Wales, just below the Gold Coast. And then my goal, so maybe a month or two before that, I had started to do business mentoring for a few other gym owners, and I'd actually invested in a course for a year that was coaching business coaches, how to be business coaches.
Yeah.
So I'd like been doing a year apprenticeship to make sure, I want to make sure that not only have I done this thing, but I also want to know, like, is there anything else of how to actually teach this that I've missed?
Yeah.
So start doing that about a month or two out. And then, the goal there was, have the second gym, started looking for a rental place in Coolangatta, close to the place, close to where we were living.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So did you have that, was that ready to go from pretty much the day you'd moved to there, or was that going to open a couple of months after?
Yeah, a couple months after. Like, my plan was, because we were renting, we literally just flew up. My wife, my fiance at the time, flew up 2 weeks out and just started from Coolangatta and moved down to look at rental places, because you have to do that if you're going to rent. So she's second place she went to in Kingscliff. She said, "Hey, this place is awesome." I said, "Done. I trust you." She's done heaps of property stuff before. So then, in my head, I'm going, okay, I'm going to go up there, and then we're going to start looking at spaces, comparing it against how much money's coming in, paying myself $500 a week the whole time, driving a business. And then starting to look at spaces, at open spaces. Yep.
Perfect. So go from there.
So this is awesome, because I've heard you guys talk about laptop lifestyle, so you really appreciate this. The byproduct of me scaling, us being there, was working from my computer, mentoring a few people in business, and then through correspondence, you're still helping with the marketing for the gym, social media, ensuring that my coach had everything she needed. And I was fucking miserable. I was living 200 meters away from the beach in Paradise. If anyone's ever been to Kingscliff, it's one of the only places in Australia left where you can still buy land that is literally 20 meters to an empty beach that you got to yourself. And I just lost all drive, because the community I created was now in control by someone else. And I had no idea how much that would impact me. And also, I knew nobody on the coast as well when I moved. And the way I met Chris was walking into his gym to actually meet people and that sort of stuff. So
how long, were you, while you were doing this as well, were you looking to open that second location?
Yeah.
Or did that you were still actively doing that?
Yeah. I started planning as soon as I got up there. I was just, what I'm talking about specifically is, once we moved, I was, my wife would go to work, and then I was just there with the dog. It was just me and the dog. And we actually moved into a location where a lot of people go to retire. Yeah. So there was no one my age either. Yeah. So, let alone not knowing anyone, you can kind of get along with everyone, right? If you try hard enough, but it's a bit easy when you got someone your age, you got things in common. Didn't really have anyone in the town that had things in common or age in common. So I was kind of just left to do my own thing. And that's one of my biggest lessons, is always find social community things. It's like massive. It's so underestimated to always, be in communities, do social stuff, because it's almost like I've been in team sports, and I created this amazing culture in the gym. We'd had 5 people get off antidepressants, someone lose 60 kilos. Like, it was awesome, because I was naturally used to culture, probably like you guys, playing sport together. Yeah. And then I was almost like, I challenged myself and said, I want to be able to handle things individually and be independent. And it fucking almost like mentally destroyed me. I didn't know what the hell was going on, that I lost all the drive for this awesome thing that I created. So laptop lifestyle was terrible. It was awful. And I mean, that wasn't why I did it in the first place. But that's what was happening. So looking for a second gym. And in the meantime, so 2 months had gone by. Then I got a phone call from my employee who was running everything, and told me that she was giving me 4 weeks notice to resign. And, you know, I was like probably more stressed than I've been I rarely get stressed, and I could just feel it throughout my entire body, fucking freaking out. What do I do? My wife at the time had just opened a yoga studio whilst working a full-time job, and we knew no one. She started crying. And so I got on a plane and flew straight down there to figure out what I was going to do. She had actually set up somebody else who was an exercise physiologist who was overqualified to take over. So she's actually sort of thought she was doing the right thing. But I was just freaking out, thinking, you know, because it didn't seem like she was very happy with I created this perception by being away and not supporting her enough that I didn't care about her as the employee or the clients. So I was really concerned about what she was saying about, you know, the reputation of the business and to the clients, because I'd already been informed that she'd said something to a client detrimental, like negative about me, that I only care about money. So yeah, went straight back in there. Went back down to Canberra and I was determined that I'm going to hire this other lady. Within 2 days, I'd interviewed her and she was super keen. And then on the Sunday that weekend, I was still so stressed because I'd lost all these clients. So I'd gone down to meet her and she just kept like saying all these things about me, like, you're doing this, you're doing that. These are my terms. You're going to have to pay me 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks, pay her $1,000 a week for doing nothing. And then so I said, you can just go now instead of doing your 2 weeks. And so she contacted every client, created a group Facebook message with every client and said that I'd fired her. So they were getting the perception that not even that she'd resigned. And yeah, I had a bunch of the clients saying, Darren, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not staying, all this stuff. So just huge damage control. Yeah. My world was falling apart. And this is a good lesson. Yeah.
Before that all went down and while you were up there and she was working for you,
yep.
Would you have ever imagined that she would do that to you?
No, and this is why it was so hard to take, because I think honesty and truth, and I've definitely been naive in the past, like over trusting people. So when I felt betrayed. Like, because to me, in my mind, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like I said, you know, you're going to have the gym by the beach. Cool. That's going to happen. That was done in my head already. Yeah. And that was the first thing I said to her when she said, oh, I'm giving you 4 weeks notice. I said, you told me the first day I met you, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So that's a lesson, a massive lesson in itself for me, that, you know, I'm the creator of it. I've got to take ownership of the most challenging things to learn from it.
So how did you cope with the damage control?
Not very well. No, you were going back to the sales calls like I was behaving before. I was all desperate. I was like, please stay, basically, without actually saying those words. Yeah. I'm sure it's coming across. And just trying to explain what had happened, that she wanted to leave, and that I was going to get someone else in, and they didn't even know this person. Built so much trust into her. A really good lesson I want to say right now, because it's something that's taken so much to learn, is that, and I hear it in people's like languagings, that you're not the business. And so when somebody says, you know, I got a new client, or I'm earning this much, like, it's really important to disassociate from that and say, the business is doing this, whatever is related to it, because that's how we can become emotionally involved. It's how I became emotionally involved and how I let it affect me, instead of remaining non-emotional like we need to be in business from that perspective of actually being a business owner and being professional, and drawing that line and doing the challenging thing that is having the emotion involved with actually giving a shit about people you're helping And the non-emotion of, I've got to fucking make this thing work, or I'm going to be like the other fucking 80% of people who just, the business dies because they haven't learned how to do that. So that was what was happening to me. It was like every client who left felt as though I was being rejected instead of the business, just a client leaving from the business. So that's why I wanted to point that out as well. So, it just broke me. I was crying on my brother's arms on that Sunday on the weekend. I still remember like more adrenaline than I've had in my body for fucking, aside from rugby league footy finals, because the Conor McGregor fight was on that Sunday. So I literally did that. I was like, bawling my eyes out to my brother going, everything's fucked. And then I go to watch the UFC fight. I think I'm hugely pumped up to watch Conor McGregor try and beat Nate Diaz in the second fight. It was so much adrenaline. So anyway, I by that Tuesday, 2 days later, my wife had just said to me, because I was convinced I'm going to hire the other person, I'm going to make it work. You know, this is the thing I've been working for the whole time. And she said, what's going to make you happy? I went, fuck. All I really care about is just being with my wife. I've got this whole future in front of me. So I just said, I'm going to close it. So that's what I did. And it's funny because I felt like a massive failure and was kind of ashamed about it for a fair period of time when I moved back up. But I actually closed it, and it could have kept going, you know, and I could have ran it and built it up and stayed down there. But it was about, what are you going to be most happiest doing? And so that's what happened. So closed it within 2 weeks, had everything moved up, sort of halved the gym and moved it into the garage of the house, and continued to, do the personal mentoring. We also had some clients in the gym, in the garage of the house. Didn't have to move around all these locations anymore.
Yeah, right. And that's where you ended up. Shortly after that, I guess, is around the time we would have caught up, Daz.
Yeah, that's it. So I come into the gym and met you. What was it? I was showing some of the guys some of the Facebook ad stuff. That's right. We've done a presentation there to teach them some of those things and help out, and just figure out what I was going to do from there. Yeah.
So I mean,
did that put you off opening up another studio up here? Stop you from looking for, instead of just closing there and turning your second location into your one location? Did that sell that for you?
Yes, and well, I was $10K in debt. I did have to pay her $4,000 across 4 weeks for doing absolutely nothing. And I was fucking angry about it. And my wife had just opened this yoga studio, which is a whole new challenge because I learned all these business skills, doing mentoring, and now she's working full time. She's doing like 60-hour weeks, including teaching at the yoga studio, managing people immediately from starting her first small business, and me putting effort into helping her make that successful. That was all I wanted to have time and focus on, just make sure that she wasn't going to completely burn herself out, because it was too much to take on, and we've since sold it because you can't work full time and start your own small business at the same time. But she tries to be Superwoman, and she is most of the time.
Daz, let me ask you a quick question, mate.
Yep.
At the end of that story, then, now for those that are listening and us as well, if you could do it all again from the start, leaving the army, launching this place, what's 2 key things? See if you can narrow it down to 2 key things you would do differently, if there's anything you would do different at all.
Number one, 100%. I would have sold a percentage of the company to her to continue to run the business before I even left.
Right. So
I met a guy,
from employee into partner role.
Absolutely. Yep. And I've since encouraged a friend who's a gym owner who's proposed something to his head coach, who absolutely loved the idea. And the guy who told me had scaled like 50, he's done a scalable model to 50 replicable of the same business. And he said, that's exactly what you should have done. So 100% on that. And I actually got told by one of the clients who was a very, very successful ex-Olympic gold medalist, real estate successful dude, who was my client. He said, why don't you sell it to her, when I was calling him up about her leaving? So definitely that would be number one. Number two would be I wouldn't have left until it was in a different position, because that was always the challenge, having one coach and then there was, you know, one part-time coach who did 2 or 4 hours. She had no support. It was only me by correspondence. But if I then had built up a team of where they could bounce off of each other, that would have created something different.
So what was her main reason for the way she went exited?
What she wanted to do was start her own business, and she didn't believe in herself until she'd gone through a development course, which showed her that she can absolutely do it, and gave her the skills and the tools to do that. So it actually wasn't anything personal.
Most people in fitness do this. Like they're just,
Yep.
most people in fitness burn bridges,
Yeah.
like hard, because they're retarded. Like they just burn bridges. They do this all the time with supplement companies, with gyms. They'll come in.
Bring your forehead closer to your mic, you goose.
Oh, sorry. They'll come in. They'll take what they need from you, or they'll need from whatever they've got. That'll build up their confidence enough that they're now top shit and they don't need you anymore. So that they'll either talk down about this, or this isn't what I want it to be anymore. I'm better than this place. I'm going to move on.
Grass
And this
is always
true
green.
with businesses, supplement companies, affiliate-based programs, anything. And this will happen, and it will probably happen again and again and again until they shoot themselves or burn enough bridges that they can't go back.
Yep.
And many people know of someone who's done this, maybe not only in our line of work, but this is a pretty standard story. To be perfectly honest, I don't know by the sounds of it, if you gave her ownership, if she'd do even any better. She sounds like a dick.
She's actually opened her own gym. She's doing really well.
Oh, good on her.
So,
she's probably going to get this now. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get an apology. Hey, I'm sorry for the way I left, because I just copped it hard.
Look, we've chatted since, and yeah, because this is about 2 years ago. So I think she's changed a lot, regardless of where she was at there.
Well, good.
But yeah, my biggest lesson is to own that. You know, make sure you've always got the trust, and people realize you still give a shit.
It sounds like you were quite, and this might be your military background. You're gonna have to correct me if it's not. It sounds like the going through the process, you were very thought out and deliberate from the start, which seems very smart and almost not surprising that you wound up in a very successful way. I'll say from the beginning, but I'm sure it wasn't from the beginning. Am I right in thinking that, first off, like with the like you were very meticulous, or that you were just more reserved because you weren't sure?
I had the whole issue was, at that point in time running a business, I still hadn't gotten over the fact that I wanted everybody to like me. So I was treating her like a friend instead of an employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, with me being me, like envisioning myself, my identity as me being the business, then anything that happened between her and I was about me, not about the business. So I hadn't separated the two things. So anything that happened emotionally or any conflict was always going to be disastrous and taken personally. So I'd never learned how to communicate as a business owner and learn how to separate that. Until it was too late.
You're right. Now it's just you training clients.
Yeah, and my online coaching business. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
So, like, what you had, I would say, is way harder than just being N=1 and doing your own thing and relying on you totally. What kind of advantages did you take out of that you could put into this scenario and just basically cream everybody else?
You mean now working?
Well, you were a business owner managing people and managing a location with much more pressure. You're now yourself just training clients, commercial setting, simply a lot less pressure than what you were facing. Is it a lot easier now for you? Or is it harder? Like, am I...
I actually feel as though it's harder. It's more challenging.
Damn it.
But see, this is the special case because... But this is the case because it could be an individual thing because I thrive with groups. If you have a group of people in front of me, I'll create energy, a vibe that is infectious, which was part of how I was able to grow the business really well. So as soon as someone was in person doing a week trial or something, the fucking energy in that place was just second to none. And I'll confidently say that. I don't confidently say that about everything. So now one-on-one, meeting strangers again, haven't been talking to strangers for 2 years. Yeah. So I fell back into a lull of where I wouldn't walk past a stranger and go, hey, how are you? And start talking about them. So yeah, it's about conditioning myself again to do that because I haven't been doing too many things socially or also too much one-on-one PT. Well, aside from where I had the gym at the house where, one person would just come in or two and it'd just be me and them. It wouldn't be in public or in a social setting where there's other strangers around. So I feel like that's probably the biggest challenge for a PT that's coming to do that. From my perspective, like I don't think I know as well as you guys. I don't know about you guys because you got so much more experience than me.
It's a good answer. It's a great answer.
Well, everything my entire online mentoring is about communication because there's so much to learn. So I just think, there's a lot of people who they kind of might not even like people that much, other people. So don't want to talk to them. It's about getting over that and actually realizing there's good in everyone, and you can have a chat with them and find that good in them.
Yeah, in saying that, just to give you a little bit of a wrap, Darren's actually doing quite good for someone who's, from the story you've just told, you're coming over as a one-on-one PT in a brand new environment, in a brand new area where he doesn't know anyone. Just, you're not doing too bad, mate. So
I don't know what that is because now I have these standards because I've listened to your episodes and I'm comparing them because I've got I can't remember whether it was you, Richo, or Nath saying work 40 or 50 hours a week at start. Well, I'm fucking that up. It's only 30 hours because I'm working on the other business in the afternoon. And then secondly, you said 12 weeks have, did you say 30 sessions per week?
I don't know.
Yeah,
20
about that,
20
but
or 30 sessions per week.
We're talking about someone who that's their sole business. Do you know what I mean? Like if you've got another business on the side, if you add those 15 or 10 hours in, do you know what I mean? It's very different. We're talking about people that are going all in. If you've already got a separate business on the side, it's a completely different story. So you're holding yourself to a standard where people have absolutely nothing else on the go except for that.
I feel like
probably why you haven't wins.
That example, just tempt yourself real quick.
What's that?
I think you're overqualified for that example, mate. I think you don't need to really listen to that. I think you're doing a good job.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Is there for you on the cards ever again that style of setup or that sort of gym, or is that a thing of the past for you now? Are you content with what you're doing with the one-on-one stuff, or is your main aim eventually to get back to your own place, the group setting, or what is?
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. Like in the future, like my main aim is to be regularly educating people on the psychology of excellence that I've learned because of the amazing impact they're going to have on an individual and those around them, as well as the combining that with holistic performance. What you guys will know about the physical and whether we're talking about recovery or nutrition or whatever, to combine those two things and be able to present that on a consistent basis to groups. So if I can do that without my own space, then that's great. And my wife may kill me in my sleep if I open another one. So, I just don't know. But the main thing is being able to, because, I think I said to you guys before, I just I just thrive in groups. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Just everyone has a better time. And personally, I just noticed better results. That woman that lost 60 kilos over 2 years in the gym that I had, I barely needed to help with nutrition because of the community, because of how excited everyone was sharing meal ideas, all this stuff. She was crying so many times, came to the gym. Just felt like she had so much support. So these are my examples of, and the 5 people telling me they got off antidepressants. Fuck. That, after seeing that and after experiencing that, that's why I'm just always like, bring groups together. The power that it has to literally for them to be together is why I just want the opportunity to be able to do that and educate and teach and make it fun.
And that's why small team training and stuff is boosting at the moment, is because we've become separate. Everyone's become solo.
Well, I mean, look at if you've only got to look at F45 to see that's why it works. You mean, it's the community that they build within their F45. When the CrossFit boxes were on fire, I mean, the CrossFit community within their gyms, it's like it's easy to see why people get drawn to those types of things, because they feel like they belong. They might not be playing a team sport, but going to that CrossFit box is the same sort of feeling that they get, I guess, is exactly what you're talking about. I think that's why all these F45s, all these little RBTs, all these stuff that's popping up, that's the big benefit that they have over a commercial gym. Instead of 3,500 randoms floating around into one space, you've got a community of anywhere between sort of 30 to 100 people. And it's exactly like what you talked about, Darren, having that feeling of belonging, family, support, network, encouragement. That's why these small little businesses do so well, because that's what they create so well.
Yeah, and it's a part of society that people are craving these days. You know, we all do our own thing. So to be able to be in a team environment, whether that is through sport, community, fitness, book reading, it doesn't matter, but everyone's looking for that again, which is great. And there's great opportunities that come from that.
Final questions, lads?
Right.
Good story, dude. That was really good. Thank you. Enjoyed that.
Pleasure.
So how far into PTing out of My Fitness Club are you now?
I think it's 5 or 6 weeks.
So, like fresh. Super fresh. Yeah.
Do you want to give us a progress report? Like, do you want to give us some numbers? Like, where are you at right now? Are you happy to do that?
Yeah, sure. 1, 2, 3.
It's all right. That's what I do.
You're in a group of meatheads, mate. It's all good.
And there's 4 or 5 people doing 2 sessions per week, and then there's 1 starting on Monday. But I mean, don't count that. She hasn't paid yet. So, and then another one as well. Does 1 half-hour session per week, and there's a guy that should be starting tomorrow who'll do 1 or 2 sessions per week.
That's pretty decent for 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's on par with the trying to pick up 2 a week. 1 to 2 a week as you're moving.
Well, especially when you haven't been in that sort of. I mean, your specialty is group, and you're walking into a situation where you're doing one-on-one. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like one of us guys just walking in and 6 weeks into trying to do group 30 to 100 people would be going, what the fuck's this? Although Nate wouldn't, because he just wants as many people as possible to hear the sound of his voice. I mean, he would be,
yes. Well played. I was about to say the same thing. This is why we're best friends. Thing I was about to say too, and like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like my fitness club, like it's been around a while. It's established. It's not exactly a brand new thing. You wouldn't have a plethora of leads always bustling through the door, like for the brand new shiny thing. So that's pretty decent, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that blend
if I can speak on behalf of Darren on that, I think it's very much a result of his approach. Darren's not a 3 sets of 10 guy. There's mobility, there's movement, there's understanding what their purpose for being there, all the shit we talk about. Like, the good thing is about that stuff that Darren brought to the gym is stuff he did from day one, and he's only just started playing catch up on the podcast. So, it's pretty good to see that you've come in quite naturally and you're doing the things we recommend. Now that you've gone back and listened to it, hopefully you've had a few moments where you've gone, sick, yep, I'm doing that. Oh, yep, I'm doing that. Oh, that might be new, but I'm doing that. And it's showing on the scoreboard, so to speak.
Yeah, dude.
Absolutely. There's plenty of things. It's a great full circle thing to listen to the episodes so far, and and get all of the different strategies that I would have never have thought of, because the only experience I ever had was when I was a 17-year-old dude who was more interested in talking to the hot girl on the treadmill when I was working in that gym than actually meeting other people.
That's still Nate.
I'm married, don't be like that. My wife listens to this. Fuck, don't do that.
Does she listen to the
No,
podcast?
she doesn't listen to when I talk to her. Of course not. We've been on here for an hour. You're already sick of me. Imagine what she's doing. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, listen, the reason we wanted you on here tonight, Darren, is just to provide a slightly different perspective and to share your story, because I know that if, just like our information we share, if it spawns some ideas in a young PT's mind, fantastic. If it gives them some thought process to play out so that they don't make similar mistakes, awesome. Then it was worth the time.
I guess before you go on, just one thing, just sort of reflecting on that, I guess, just a sort of take-home note for everyone listening. If that's sort of what you're thinking about is doing the scalable option or have people work from you, like what I took from Darren's story was he did it first, then after speaking to people afterwards, learned what they would have done and how he would have done it differently. So I think if you are thinking about going into that sort of scalable option where he talked about he would have sold the business to her and said, et cetera, et cetera. If that's something you're thinking about doing, go to people and try and find exactly like what we talked about, mentors and coaches. Find someone who's done that scale successfully and sort of try and blueprint that. Because I feel like Darren sort of had his own idea of how it was going to work. And then once he tried it and it didn't work out quite the way he wanted to, he learned his lessons after that. So again, we're all about learning lessons from each other. So learn from Darren's and the people that he talked to afterwards that said, oh, I would have done this or I would have done that. Speak to those people before you do it.
Yeah.
Can I quickly add to that, Richo?
Yeah, of course you can.
Thanks. The difference between me succeeding and not in regards to knowing the exact system that I needed was choosing the wrong model of excellence. So the model of excellence has to be someone who has the exact specific result that you want. So all of my first mentors, even though they were Facebook ad experts, they didn't have a gym.
Yeah.
They were coaching people in different industries. And then my next mentor, who was teaching me how to coach people in business, and he'd coach people in that, he also didn't have a gym.
Yeah.
But Travis Jones, my first mentor before I started the business, he had one, and I should have stayed with him to learn. Yeah. So that was the difference, to not pick the exact specific person.
We will get TJ on here at some point.
For
might
sure.
just have to negotiate a different time, but it's a good tee up. He'll be someone excellent to have on, even if it runs longer and we break into a couple of parts. It'll be amazing to have him here.
Awesome.
I don't think there's anyone better in Australia honestly to talk about.
Not at the current point in time, not with the numbers he's putting out, and not with the systems that he's got, like to a T.
Yeah.
And he's just gone through a whole revamp of his entire system. So he'd be very good to have on, because the numbers he spits out, most people will never even get 5% off.
And that's what this whole thing's about, right, fellas? We're trying to create a network. We're trying to create a community of people that aren't full of shit, that are walking the walk.
I'm out.
Different kinds of we're not talking the manufactured shit, you know?
Yeah, moving on. Sorry, we would have informed this was the prerequisites to be a host. He's out. Like, he's just out.
I've got selective vision, and it just kind of split at the bottom of my screen there. So my bad, guys. But listen, on serious note, stick with this show. We're getting different guests on. We're expanding the reach. With each new guest brings a new group of people. Darren, where can our viewers and listeners find you on social?
Social on Instagram, Darren J. Bruce. On Facebook, I've got a public page. Just Darren Bruce's name, darrenbruce.com.au. Yeah, if they want to say hello or got a question, whatever.
Awesome. Guys, we'll put the links in the notes as well. For us three meatheads, you see our shit on the last slide. You'll see where we're at. So watch it, find it. Awesome, fellas. Great show. Appreciate that. That's episode 16 is a wrap.
Damn.
We'll be back at it next weekend with number 17 and keeping the thunder rolling.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Talk soon.
lads.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Darren.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.